rebuilding. A catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Silverback Blueprint Podcast, episode 157. Be grateful for the challenges. So this is going to be coming out December 31st, I guess. I know it is because I made this note earlier. Luke thinks I'm amazing because I remembered that. And that's the one thing I want to talk about going into the new year, into 2019, is we got to be grateful for the challenges. In fact, we should be working on being just grateful for things that are good in our lives and things that we've accomplished. And maybe that's another podcast where we'll get into that today. But going back to what we talked about just a second ago about being grateful for the challenges. Challenges are hard. Challenges are difficult, but they bring the best out in us. They test us. They harden us. They toughen us. And I don't mean in a way to become a prick, and treat people like shit. But there is a time when you have to learn to put your foot down. But what they do is they prepare us. It's like training, right? The challenges we're going through, whether it's 100 ball slams, whether it's a 5K, jog that's tough for you or whatever, something that is challenging for you, right? And you can use a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the incredible, most challenging, life-threatening thing you've ever had to deal with, and 1 be like, oh, I better mail this, put this in the mail today. The challenges that really shape us and form us and make us better and just improve us are the challenges that are in the 6s and 7s and 8s. The 9s and 10s, those are the big ones. Those are the tough ones. Those are the family tragedies and stuff like that. And they will happen. And hopefully, if we've been going through enough of the 7 and 8s in life, we'll be better prepared to handle those 9s and 10s. But rather than shirk away from a challenge, and that's a natural thing, right? The body wants to move away from discomfort, right? It wants to protect us. It wants to preserve us, right? At the end of the day, our initial reaction is always going to be, let's just move away from that uncomfortable conversation or that kind of thing. But truly, what's empowering us is when we turn around and just face it, right? And try not to face it just with emotion, so you fly off the handle and freak. But turn around and just say, okay, this is something that's bothering me. That's even more than bothering. It's bothering. So here's something on your plate, and we've all been there. And I'm right now. If you guys close your eyes, you can, I say, hey, think of the one thing that's bugging you right now in your life. Something will come to your mind. And if we're honest about it, we haven't addressed it. There's a difference between fighting through a challenge that we haven't addressed and fighting through a challenge that we are currently addressing. When we're currently addressing something in a positive, proactive manner, right, that's a different challenge. It still is pressure. It still is tough, but you're moving through it. You're moving towards it. You're dealing with it. Again, not easy, but easier than avoiding challenges altogether. Because when you avoid things like that, they just keep coming back with more and more fucking friends to deal with it, right? They just get bigger, and they come back at the most inopportune time. They come back at the point where we really don't want them, when we're at our weakest. It's almost like they know. So what we need to get into the habit of doing is looking at what the challenges we're currently facing are and start putting together a plan. How am I going to deal with it? What can I deal with? What are the challenges I have control over how the outcome is? And some challenges you might not have the control over. You might have to learn to deal with it on your own self, internally. But for the most part, when we face a challenge and we deal with a challenge, I find for me anyway, the moment I just take that deep breath and I just say, okay, I'm going to deal with this today, it's stressful, but all of a sudden there's a bit of a switch. It gets a little calmer, gets a little readier. All of a sudden you switch into that battle mode. And that's where your existing experience your capabilities, all those things of having to deal with other stressful situations and other challenging situations that you successfully came through, that's when all that's going to come to the front. That's when that power comes. That's where that confidence comes. That's where you can sit back and rely on it. You know, sometimes we get worked up on something and we make it out to be so much bigger than it really is. And then when we finally deal with it, or we finally look at it and say, listen, this is a challenge I have to deal with. And in the scope of the challenges I've dealt with in my life so far successfully, how does it rate? And a lot of times, a lot of things that are bugging us, we've dealt with bigger and better already. Hopefully, if we've been dealing with things. Now, if you're hiding in your parents' basement at 42 years old playing Netflix and online games, you haven't really dealt with a lot of stuff, right? You got to work on some shit. But it's those challenges that make us better. And we should be grateful for them. We should be grateful to have some challenges because that's what keeps moving us forward. That's what makes us have to be better. That's what makes us have to maintain a certain level of capability. You know, one of the best things about training, whether it's martial arts, it's powerlifting, any sport, one of the cool things about it, if you really are working hard in that, is that your ever readiness. Your ever readiness to deal with something. If you're fitter, your ever readiness is at a higher level. So all of a sudden, someone calls you up and says, hey, let's go play volleyball for the afternoon. You're like, fuck yeah, let's go play some volleyball. But if you're overweight and you're tired and you're beat up, you're not going to want to play that volleyball. You probably want to, but you know you can't. You know, in training, we call GPP, General Physical Preparedness. So that's basically being at a certain level of fitness that you can do a base of almost anything that you want to do. You might not be able to run a 5 kilometer in 14 minutes, but you can run a 5 kilometer. But you put yourself through challenges of training and maintaining that training to keep that level of preparedness going, right? So those workouts you've been doing have been challenging you. But now they're less challenging because you're tougher and you're fitter and you're better. It's the same with life. It's the same with the things that we're going to do, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's your personal growth. When we turn into the challenge and we work on dealing with it, we get better. We get tougher. Our ever readiness for challenges improves. What used to stress us out doesn't stress us out at that same level anymore. Now, a couple of things I think it's important that we do is that, you know, the bigger the challenge, the more we plan. The bigger the challenge, the more we try to focus on taking the emotion out of it and get ready for it. Plan when you're going to deal with it. Maybe you don't deal with something today because it's bigger and it needs more work, it needs more preparedness to be done. But in your mind, you don't say, hey, I'm not going to deal with this. You're going to be like, hey, I'm going to deal with this down the road at this time when I have this taken care of or lined up. But that takes work. That takes focus. That takes the desire to want to move forward. That takes the desire to want to improve. And we're always going to be fighting that, you know, I'm okay where I am-ness. Because most of us aren't starving. Most of us aren't sitting out in the freezing cold. Most of us have a roof over our head. I think that's a lot of times why people get stuck in shitty relationships, because they're also like the fact that, you know what, they have a home, it's comfortable, it's warm, right? It's safe, relatively. Yeah, they're unhappy with a few things, but there's a lot of other things that they're just like, you know, that's a lot of work if I want to improve on that. Maybe if I finally put my foot down in this relationship and it doesn't work out, I have to live in a shitty condo or a bachelor apartment or rent a room somewhere. And sometimes that is more challenging to that individual. That is more fearful than having to deal with, you know, the unhappiness of their situation. Not cool, not a great way to spend your time, not a great way to be fulfilled. I was just recently talking to a buddy of mine I ran into, and he's telling me how he was just, you know, unhappy in his marriage for a long time. And but he was putting up with it because he had a couple kids. He wanted to make sure that, you know, they got to a certain age. And then he said finally one day something happened, and he said, you know what, I just don't want to do it anymore. And he sat down, you know, along the way he met somebody, and he sat down with his spouse and said, you know what, I'm done, this is it, it's over. I think he even said he even got fired from his job a month after that. But you know what? I have to admit, he looked happier than the last time I saw him. Because he had made some moves. And there was a lot of uncertainty in his life, but he had fixed a couple of things that were really important to him that he hadn't dealt with. For him, that emotional intimacy that he didn't have anymore with his wife, he had found with somebody else. Now, I know this guy. I know he didn't go out looking for that. But obviously, it was a really important thing for him because here he is, out of the house, met somebody new, no job, but the fucker is happier. Because he finally resolved something that he knew that their only resolution, deep down, he knew the only resolution was for him to leave. So how much time do you think he wasted in his life sitting in that situation? And I get it. When there's kids, it's tough, man. I think we have to be tougher and we have to deal with things. We have to make sure that we exhaust all levels of our approach and possibilities for a better outcome and stuff. You know, we have to do our part to try to make our relationships better as well, too. We can't just sit there and say, oh, I don't like doing this anymore and I want to walk away. I think that's the other fucking problem. People have gotten too soft that way. But this guy, I know he stuck it out for as long as he could. And now he's in a situation where he has less on the books than he had before, but he's happier. Because he dealt with a challenge. He dealt with a huge challenge. And that's what it's really about, guys, is figuring out what our challenges are. What's the challenge we can solve quickly and move to the next one? Because when we solve those low-hanging fruit issues, the ones that are right in front of us, the ones that are easiest to resolve, it does a few things. It takes that challenge off your plate. Number two, you start to build a little bit of confidence because you're getting, you have some success. Okay, I dealt with this. What's next? How do I deal with that? What's next? And as it goes higher up the tree in complexity, you're getting a little bit better, a little more skill set. And maybe as you take a few other things off the plate, you realize that a couple of those other challenges you thought that were a big deal weren't, because you were in a mindset where you felt things weren't going well anywhere. But like anything, guys, we start small, solve a few things. It could be as simple as go pay your speeding tickets. We sit there and we wait till we go to renew our license and we're all shocked. I know I keep getting these red light camera things, right? This was a good year. I didn't have any. The year before I had 3. That's $1,800. Or sorry, $900 on top of my renewals, right? My license renewals. So I did 2 things. One is I said, stop running fucking orange lights. Number 2, if I do it and I do get caught, I'm going to go pay for it a lot quicker. So I don't have that extra lump that day of. Or if I do, then just don't get mad. You fucking did it. You got the ticket. At the end of the day, right? Own your shit. But work on solving the challenges. Work on getting through the challenges. And as you get through them, like I said, you're going to get better. You're going to get better at dealing with it. You're going to get happier. The burden is going to be lifted off you. And maybe along the way, as you're solving challenges, maybe you're going to realize a couple of things that maybe you're causing some of these challenges in the way you're doing things or the way you're not taking care of things. So look inward. Fix those things inside. What's causing you to do this? Your credit cards are always full. Well, why the fuck are your credit cards always full? Look at that. Don't blame the credit card. Get past it. Get ahead of it. Pay it down. But then look at what's causing that to happen. Maybe you're spending more than you're taking in. Maybe you need to increase your income. Maybe you need to control your spending. I don't know. It's different for everybody. But again, those are other challenges to deal with. But if you can solve what's causing some of those things or improve them before they get to be a bigger issue, then you're getting better at dealing with challenges. You're avoiding unnecessary challenges. But most of the time, guys, if we look within, we're the ones ultimately responsible for whatever is happening for us in our life, good or bad. So at the end of the day, be grateful for challenges. But then just work your life in such a way that the challenges that you are facing are ones that are moving you forward in a positive manner. A project, an endeavor, a goal to become better. Those are great challenges to deal with. A business idea, a promotion work, strengthening your relationship with your wife, your spouse, or your children. Those are great challenges to face. Those are great challenges to want to overcome because they lead to great things. Get rid of the shitty challenges. Get rid of the unnecessary challenges. And then when you've done that and you've gotten better at dealing with challenges and you're only dealing primarily with positive challenges in your life, you start moving forward. You start putting or start creating the quality of life that you really, truly want. And you'll be proud of. But none of that happens. None of that happens without challenges. Just decide which ones are the good ones, clean off the bad ones. And then once you're in front of a challenge, no matter what, once you decide to deal with it. Get through it the best you can. Guys, that's all I have to say on that for now. Head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating, positive review. Head on over to hostelegear.com. Use the code Silverback to save 20% on some challenge-breaking merchandise. And as always, guys, work hard, motherfuckers, and I'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, Kurt Haas here from the Silverback Blueprint. Listen, if you guys are looking to get a jump start on some change and really get things going, but you're feeling stuck and you just need that little push, I want you guys to head over to silverbackblueprint.com. I've got a cool 3-video series that we just put up there, and it's geared to help you within the next 7 days lose 10 pounds, sleep better, and think clearer. Just the right thing to give you that right catalyst to get started. So head on over to silverbackblueprint.com. Sign up for there. You're going to get 3 cool videos covering 3 topics that if you follow are going to make a big difference. Work hard, motherfuckers, and I'll talk to you guys later.